Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Mike Armstrong podcast show. And this evening, I'm joined by Clinton Young, who is an international keynote speaker and also a world-class speaker trainer based in California in the USA. And how are you doing this evening for me and this afternoon for you, Clinton?
Mike, I'm doing wonderful, and I look forward to visiting your fine country in Wales someday.
Yes, brilliant. Just for those in the audience who may or may not, know my format, when you come across this video on YouTube, I tend to interview and speak to people in my network quite a lot, but I have more recently internationally been reaching out and just connecting with people and often having my first chat with them on the podcast, as this is. Although we may have had a chat for a minute or two beforehand, just for the audience to know this is our first chat together. I reached out to Clinton on a Facebook group because he's a world-renowned international speaker, and that's what I'm looking to become myself. So I thought that'd be good to get Clinton on the podcast. So tell us a little bit about your journey, Clinton, how you started off in that speaking world, what you did maybe before that, and how have you built yourself up to that international level?
Well, Mike, I just kind of rolled out of bed one day and became overnight success, right?
Yeah.
What do they say? The overnight success is like 10 years of hard work, and then all of a sudden something pops and it just kind of starts to happen for you. And that's kind of what happened with me. Although 10 years ago, I'm 43 right now, I'm going on 44 in about 12 days or so. And I didn't set out to become a world-class international keynote speaker, right? What I did was I just followed what my passion was. I followed what felt good as at first an employee and then as an entrepreneur. I've always been, I would say for the last 15 years, as I've been really immersed in personal growth and development, I've followed what felt right. What is that sort of state of flow, if you will? When you're in the flow, like it feels good. It's not always easy, but there's a sense of effortlessness. You know what I'm saying there, Mike? That sense of effortlessness when you're in the flow, things kind of start to happen for you and opportunities get presented. And as long as you have the courage to think big, right, about what it is that you want, and then to say yes. I always say, think big, say yes, and take action, right? You got to say yes when the opportunity is there. Even if you have that fear, you got to step into that fear, because when you do, that's when the magic happens, right?
Yeah, they always say the best things happen outside your comfort zone.
1000% agree. Absolutely. So what happened was, in corporate, I gravitated towards roles of leadership. And then in 2005, I think it was, I moved from the East Coast near Boston, Massachusetts, out to the West Coast, San Diego, California in the US, and for my dream job, right? This is my dream opportunity. I worked for an international consulting firm. We did mergers and acquisitions with clients all around the world. And I specifically worked in the intercultural services division. So cultural training, language training when people get sent overseas. And this was my passion. I was telling you earlier, I love culture, I love travel, and it's always been a passion of mine. And about a year into it, my dream job, I just spent like 60,000 US going to grad school and 2 years of my life. And now a year into my dream job, I'm miserable, Mike. Miserable. And it was because, and perhaps some of your listeners can relate, whether they're just stepping into entrepreneurship or if they've been an entrepreneur for a while, there's that time when you just say, I can't do this anymore. I can't be unhappy anymore. And for me, it was that 2005, 2006 timeframe when I started looking for opportunities to become an entrepreneur. And there were opportunities for me to utilize my sales background to get into sales roles where I became self-employed. And from there, I continued to gravitate towards what felt right. What were my strengths, my gifts, my talents? What were those things that when I did them, it felt natural? Time flew by. I felt that sense of ease, and I felt like I was adding the most value, right? When we're in the flow, where we're talking kind of like this. A lot of times we talk fast because we're excited about it. And that's where we actually add the most value. And my mentor actually saw something in me that I didn't ever see in myself. And that was that I had the ability, although nervous as heck, no matter how many thousands of hours I have on stage, and if any of your listeners out there ever want to become a speaker or want to use speaking to grow their entrepreneurial endeavor, know this: the nerves don't go away, okay? They don't go away. All we do is we get to learn ways to transmute that energy. All it is energy. We transmute that nervous energy into passion, into excitement, into what is it like to sit in the chair of the person in the audience, and how can we make an impact, right? So I had a mentor that saw something in me, and I put me on stages. He just kept putting me on stages. And I remember, Mike, like it was yesterday. I'm in the room. I'm speaking about 100 entrepreneurs. This was probably 10 years ago at least. And I'm on stage and I'm speaking, and I was so in the pocket. I was so in the flow of, this is probably how you get sometimes when you're coaching or when you're doing your sales, all that you're networking. I know you're a master networker all around the world. You know, you get in that sort of state of flow, and I was feeling all tingly, right? So here I am, I'm all tingly. I'm looking out at the audience, and the audience is looking back at me, and you can feel the emotion and the connection in that room. You can feel it. So much so it's like you could cut it with a knife. It was so palpable, Mike. And I was hooked. From that day forward, I was absolutely hooked to speaking from stage, but not to be a speaker, but for the impact that I get to make, for the influence that I get to have, the positive influence I get to have as a speaker. And, you know, we can talk more about like the steps I took from there, but that was the day I knew. I didn't necessarily know I was going to speak all around the world and become a from stage. And
So
that's kind of how it all started.
You froze then on become. So I think you was going to say become a, and then it froze. So can you want to say that a bit again?
Sure. Yeah, I didn't know necessarily that I would become a highly paid global speaker in that moment. But what I did know, Mike, is I knew that I found the place and the role, activity that gave me life, and therefore I could give life to other people in that role.
Yeah, brilliant. And that's why I started my podcast, because I like helping people, and I want to help as many people on the planet as possible. So, and that's why I want to become a speaker. It's to be successful and get to that place that you wanted to get to, and for yourself, but also because you know in that position you can help so much more people, so many more people can benefit. Because I got 30 years of experience, you know, not just read a book, you know, or whatever, you know, learned, lifelong learning, applied learning, analyzed, relearned, you know, trained to other people. You know what I mean? I got the spurs, I've been there, I've done it. I put the hours in, I've done the graft. And what I want to do is educate people, you know, on things that they don't know, things that can save them time, save them money, save them hassle, you know, teach them things and get them to accelerate and go way beyond where I can ever go, because they learned it all. They learned what I learned in 30 years in 5 years, you know? So I'd love
Absolutely. And what a lot of entrepreneurs need to really understand as well is, in today's day and age, if we're not becoming a speaker, and I don't mean you have to be this, by the way, by world-class speaker, that's what I teach people how to become world-class speakers. I don't mean you have to be this person gallivanting all around the world, getting $10,000 per speech. I mean world-class is, I want to be able to impact as high of a percentage of that room as possible. And the only way we can do that is becoming world-class at understanding psychology, understanding the human condition, the defense mechanisms that go up in an audience immediately as soon as you step on stage, and how to disarm them, how to build rapport with an audience, how to maintain their attention. That's what I mean by world-class. And what entrepreneurs need to know is that if you're not becoming a world-class speaker, again, not to go all around the world speaking, but to promote your business, you are missing out and you're going to get left behind. What's his name? The number 4 richest person in the world. His name is Warren Buffett. Everybody's probably heard of Warren Buffett on here if you're an entrepreneur. He was about number 4 when I checked this stat. He says that the number 1 skill, hands down, that you can learn in today's economy is to become a speaker, to actually learn how to communicate and effectuate change from stage or from podcasts or from video, right?
Yeah, well, the two best forms of marketing, and which leads to sales, if you like, at this moment in time, is audio and video.
100%. Yeah.
That's why I create a podcast and stick the video on the YouTube channel, because they're the two currencies of the moment.
And speaking from stage anytime you get an opportunity. Now, I know we're in a little bit of a pandemic right now, but there's a lot of opportunities to do webinars, right? That go out to hundreds of people, or even 10 people, right? It doesn't have to be a 100 people audience or a 1,000-person audience. But when you get an opportunity to speak in front of all these stages, and YouTube, like you said, and podcasts are amazing stages because that lives on forever, right? So yeah, 100% agree with you, Mike.
Yeah, definitely. And for me, like, I started my podcast because I wasn't that comfortable on camera. I'm comfortable speaking and I know my subject. I've been in sales for 30 years, sales management. I've done rooms of 100 people talking on for my company, talking to, doing presentations to, the target audience in a room around tables and all that sort of stuff. But I wasn't comfortable in front of a camera because I never spent a lot of time in front of a camera, so why would I be comfortable?
Of course.
Exactly. So I thought I'd start off with a podcast because, one, you haven't got to worry about what you look and what you're wearing and all that's easier. You just talk into it. And I've been blogging for years, so I already had the content. It was just, I thought, well, I can get comfortable podcasting. But as soon as I did that for a while, I got comfortable speaking because I'm a comfortable speaker. And then I was like, well, actually, why am I not just filming it at the same time and having, more bang for my buck, getting more content out of the process. And that's because I'm into efficiency and process and all of that as well. So it just made logical sense to get the video. And now I'm comfortable on video and audio. And I could appear on anyone's Facebook Live, on anyone's anything, whoever it is in the world, however big the audience is. And I'm comfortable in that arena. Would I still get nervous on a stage right now? Yes, because I haven't been on many stages. I've been on a few here and there. Yeah. But if you do something and you do it consistently, day in, day out, it becomes, second nature. You don't have to think about it. It's just what it is.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So that's why I say to people, if they want to become a speaker first, the process, the journey I went through, become a blogger, then become a podcaster, then a YouTuber. It's a good journey. It's a good way to, find your voice and build up. You haven't got to start running a marathon. You can just go for a couple of mile runs first.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, definitely. So, so what topics do you speak about when you're traveling the globe?
So besides speaker training, I do the top 7 tips to becoming a world-class speaker. That's something that I speak on a lot. I do that a lot on Zoom. I've done it, obviously I do it live as well. But the thing that I really do all around the world, the thing that I've done the most is my keynote speech. And my keynote speech is called Reigniting Your Human Spirit. And the reason why it's reigniting, some people ask me, well, why isn't it just igniting? Well, I believe that as little kids, we're born and we are already ignited, right? And then certain things happen to us. We have this sort of childlike confidence. I call it little kid confidence. And like anything's possible, right? We are so pure, so untouched, anything's possible. And we have absolute faith and belief that we can do anything. And the amazing thing is that's actually really good advice coming from a 5-year-old or a 3-year-old, that we really can do everything or anything that we want in this world. And then something happens to us, right?
Society happens.
Yeah, society, and a lot of times either a traumatic event or it could be a totally benign happenstance. Something happens. It's different for everybody, but something happens around age 5 to like 8 years old, approximately. By the way, I'm a closet psychologist. Just to give a little bit of credibility, I have a bachelor's degree in psychology, a master's degree in organizational psychology, which is basically like psychology of business. And I've been geeking out on neuroscience and the human condition for like the last 15 years. Okay?
Well, I'm just for full disclosure, I'm an amateur psychologist, but I've been studying psychology since I was probably, a teenager. And my
Right.
sister's a criminal psychologist, so there's something
Right.
definitely in the genes. You know?
Okay, beautiful. So we're on the same wavelength here. I'm going to drop a little very rudimentary psychology. But ultimately, when you ask me, what do I talk about? I'm kind of giving you the backstory of how I help people, really how I enable confidence and courage to live their dream life right now, right? That's really what I speak about. And it's unlocking your full potential. And I do want to share that little bit about reigniting the human spirit, just to not leave people on a cliff there. So as we're little kids, we got this little kid confidence. Anything's possible, childlike faith, and like anything is possible. Something happens, and it's not that something happens. It's something happens, and then as little kids, we have these little kid brains that aren't fully developed yet. They're not actually fully developed until age 25. And most people don't know that. Like, our beliefs are still being formed, but most of our solid beliefs are really anchored in at a very early age. And what happens is this occurrence happens in our life, and we make it mean something. We make it mean something, but it doesn't actually mean what we make it mean. And this could be something totally, like I said, benign and not a big deal, or it could be something like, the world's not safe. I'm not good enough.
A lot of these phobias, a lot of the phobias
Yep.
that people, psychologists, it always goes back to a childhood moment that you know they gotta reverse the thought process, because they've linked something with something and they're given the wrong answer to it, and they believe that
100%.
answer forever.
100%. And I'm not trying to get all Freudian and psychological with your listeners, but I do want to just give a really basic, simple framework. First of all, I invite your listeners and anyone watching this on video to really consider that we have what are called limiting beliefs, right? One of my main man, Morpheus, from one of my favorite movies in the world, you know what I'm talking about. Morpheus from The Matrix. Oh my goodness, one of my favorite movies ever. I just had a total brain freeze. So he says that we're all prisoners of our own mind. We're all prisoners of our own mind. So what's he talking about? He's talking about our limiting beliefs. So I invite anyone watching this video or listening to this podcast to really consider, just try it on like a warm blanket. You can take it off at the end of the show. Try on that you have limiting beliefs. And try on secondarily that those limiting beliefs are the only thing that's stopping you from where you want to go. It's the only thing that's between where you are now and what you want to achieve in life, because anything really is possible. So what I teach and what I speak about is reigniting the human spirit. Mike, I'll share a quick story here. About 10, 15 years ago, I find myself, it was actually 2008, so that would be about 12 years ago-ish. I find myself after the big global collapse, absolutely. I find myself in a seminar totally lost. And picture this, I'm at the microphone, there's like 200 people in the room. I'm not leading the seminar by any stretch, right? Like I said, I'm lost. I'm there and I'm talking, I'm sharing with the speaker, right? The trainer. And he looks right at me, the leader, and he says, Clinton, you're dead inside. And it was like, like right to the heart. And he spoke right to my soul, Mike. And it's true. I was dead inside. I was dead inside, right? And it was from that day forward.
Was that when you was employed? Was that when you was employed still?
That was when I actually lost my business.
Okay.
In the matter of a few months, I lost my business. I lost my credit.
Because of the crunch, because of the finance.
I lost properties. I went from making hundreds of thousands of dollars to literally making $8 an hour, walking into a broke down call center where I'm about to make cold calls, something I hadn't done in 15 years, making $8 an hour. That's where I was. And I'm in the seminar. And it was from that day that I decided and that I discovered my purpose in life, really was the beginning of discovering this, was to reignite the human spirit. Not ignite it, because a lot of people, right, it's ignited when we're kids, but then it gets extinguished or it gets blocked or it gets clouded. And it's almost like a pilot light in a gas stove. Sometimes it's flickering, sometimes it goes out. My speech, Reigniting the Human Spirit, is all about putting a blowtorch to that pilot light so that now
whooshing
they
it
see
again.
through a whole new lens.
Just whooshing it up again, like, you know. I was lucky. I was I was brought up by a very positive, confident woman, and she told me often that I could do and be whatever I wanted to be. I also played a lot of sports as a child and was very good at sports. Fastest boy in school, played a lot of rugby. I won a league and cup double in the first 3 years and stuff. So I got used to a winner's mentality and actually believing that you could win. Not being the winner of second and third and fourth, but was winning all of the time, academic and sporty, with a mother that told me I could do what I wanted to do. And in my first sales jobs, I ended up making quite good money. So I always had that flickering light which started burning, burning, burning. And funnily how you say that, but mine probably got knocked out in the 2008 global credit crunch, or a few years after that, as the knock-on effect of that happened, and which culminated in my divorce. So actually, it was the one big thing in my life that wasn't going that way. And actually it was like a reset again. I had to start again from scratch, really, after my divorce, because of finances and all the rest of it, and so I had to learn how to reignite my spark again. So if I'd have been in your audience with you talking that reigniting keynote speech, it would resonate a lot with me, because actually in 2017, when I met Grant Cardone for the first time, that actually is probably, I think Grant Cardone gave me the Bunsen burner to my spark, if you like, and since then I've been on what I would consider to be, a pretty decent flow, a decent momentum. Full flow. I've been in and out of flow in that time, where you're full on flow, where you can knock anything out of the way and you see in the world a bit like the Matrix. When all of a sudden the world seems a much easier place. I've been in that flow, and I'm in the momentum of, I'm hovering around that flow constantly. And actually lockdown has put me quite into that flow too, because it's allowed me to do a lot of the things I always wanted to do but kept putting off. I actually did them during lockdown. And for me, a big part of flow is success and achievement, is getting those things done that are big things on your list that you want to get done.
Yeah, 100%. And I love one of the things you said, Mike, if I could just add another little piece here. You said, being around people like Grant Cardone, right? That gave you that sort of Bunsen burner, or that spark, if you will, that you needed. And it's so vitally important to know that we've got to surround ourselves with people that are either doing the things we want to do, or being the kind of person we want to be, or have the kind of things we want to have, the type of lifestyle we want to have, making the kind of impact we want to have, and just having more success than us. And as we up level the people that we hang out with, we start to up level our own life. We start to up level our own beliefs as well. One of the tips I give for really up leveling your beliefs is up leveling your network, right? I learned this back in my sales days, that we're the product of the books we read and the people we hang out with, period. You guys might want to write that down as well if you're listening. We are the products of the books we read and the people we hang out with. And you're specifically a product of the top 5 people that you hang out with. Like, if you look at the top 5 people you hang out with and look at how much they make, right? We're just going to look at money. You could look at anything. You could look at spiritual involvement. You could look at your fitness level, whatever area of life you want to look at. I'm just looking at finances because it's the easiest thing to measure. If you just looked at how much do each one of them make, the top 5 people you hang out with, add that all up and divide by 5, you'll get an average of the top 5 people you hang out with. And there's this law called, or the rule of 5, the power of 5. The power of 5 states that your income will likely be within about 5% of the top 5 people you hang out with. When I learned that, Mike, I got rid of all my friends. I'm just kidding. I did not do that. But I
didn't see them so much. You just spent less time with them.
No, I just started to up level my network, right? I wanted to so I would challenge anyone listening to find people that you look up to in whatever area of life is important to you. If it's business ownership, if it's entrepreneurship, listen to more of Mike's podcast. I know he has a lot of great content out there, or sales, or networking. Listen to Mike's stuff, right? Or
I listen to the best. I got sort of 5, 6, 7 areas that I like to excel in. I listen to the best people on the planet that I can find in those areas.
You have to. We were talking about in the pregame
Yeah.
before this show. You were telling me some of the things that people you're following out there, like Les Brown, one of the best speakers on the planet.
Yeah, Brian
Being a
Tracy.
world-class speaker coach and a speaker myself, those are the people I follow. Those are the people I hire. Be my coach. So
yeah, exactly. Brian Tracy, Grant Cardone, who else? Sharon Lecter, Robert Kiyosaki, because I'm interested in getting into property as well. I don't know if you got back into the property game, but that's something I'm going to definitely do. So, yeah, all the areas of my life I want to grow in, I go to the best people I can find and say, okay,
100%.
how can I get some fertilizer from these guys to help me
100%.
grow? So I think we're similar age. I'm 42, 43 September, so we're similar age. And I didn't get to personal development till I was 37. So, a bit late. I wish I'd got to it a bit earlier, but I always been personally developing myself. So even though I wasn't listening and off some of the best people on the planet and personally developing, I was researching, upskilling, amateur psychology and learning, taking bits of gold off everyone I could find who had a bit of gold to give. So I was building my own development. And I think, if you don't know who to follow, that's a good way to get going. But I probably could have accelerated and saved myself 10, 15 years and been much further advanced. And I just got to the right people first. But I didn't know the world of personal development existed. And it was only really by a chance discovery that I ended up getting into it,
Yeah, 100%. And you just made me think of the distinction I have between academic development, which you could call professional development with your job, your career, your education, all of that is, it's like you're adding things, right? So it's a distinction between academic development and personal development. When you're having academic development, we're learning new sales techniques. We're learning, how to speak. We're learning how to do something better. We're learning to become an entrepreneur. But when we actually dive into personal development, it's actually learning more about ourselves. And it's a difference between, you're not adding things. You're actually learning what to take away. That's where
how to get the efficiency out of everything you've learned, how to put that into a process which allows you to go that one direction into your goal, your ambition, that big thing that you want out of life.
Yeah, it's basically learning versus wisdom, right? We spend most of our lives learning, and most people only spend their whole life learning. But they don't actually move into the wisdom until they're either really old and they just don't really care about learning anymore and they just start to have insights, or you can accelerate that process through actively engaging in your own personal development, your own personal self-discovery, right?
It's very similar to listening and hearing. Yeah. Some people listen and never hear, but if you really listen, then you'll hear the messages and the signals and all the things you need to think. So it's a similar sort of thing, isn't it? With you can gain as much knowledge as possible, but you need to be able to have the wisdom to realize what, out of all the knowledge and skills you've learned, which are the ones most relevant to you.
100%, 100%, because we're all unique, we're all different. And when we start to understand really what is our unique gifts and talents, what is our passion, what is our purpose, what are our values, this is what can give us real juice in our life and give us the opportunity to really live our dream life right now, right? Yeah. That's really what I'm all about, is unlocking that freedom in people, that awareness in people, and then giving them the tools and the resources to be able to unlock their full potential, whether that be as an entrepreneur or any kind of career, or as a speaker, when I'm helping speakers and aspiring speakers to really grow themselves and their influence.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's important to find your why, like you said, your mission, your vision, your values, your why, the why you get up in the morning. And I actually was always around my why, but again, I had that crystallized during lockdown. I was very, in and around. I know myself and I know what I like doing. And like you say, you gravitate towards things. And through a process of elimination, if you're a say yes kind of guy, like I am, and I think you mentioned that earlier as well. If you say yes and you do things, you'll get to understand the things you enjoy more and the things you don't enjoy more. So as a process of elimination, you're gravitating towards the right direction anyway. If you're just in tune with yourself and your own mentality and your own likes and dislikes, if you like. But you can pepper gun around the why for a while, but once you crystallize your why, you can really get on it and really make a difference. And I actually crystallized my why during lockdown, which is why I'm in such massive momentum now, and it's why I'm creating so much output and so much content, because I know what I'm trying to achieve, and I'm on the end goal now. Whereas before I was on similar goals to my end goal, but not quite the right goal, like, you know.
That's great. Congratulations. That's great. Love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I think, like you said, so many people never actually get to the why, because a lot of the time they had that why when they were a kid, but someone else told them, well, why do you want to do that? Or you know, you're not going to earn any money doing that or whatever. So they had their why and then they lost their why. And it's only when they get a bit older, sometimes do they rediscover the why. You know, and sometimes you have to, often I see you have to have something bad happen to you in your life for you to hit that level to actually believe that you can go and get your why. A lot of it comes to near-death experiences, which is why people start living when they nearly die, you know.
Right.
And that's why I think for me the lockdown again has been great for so many people, because so many people have actually, even if they haven't had that bad thing happen to them, they've had that contemplation moment happen to them where they're like, you know, I'm potentially gonna die. There's a killer virus out there. You know, if I want to live my life and get the most out of it, what should I be doing? I think a lot of people have had that sort of thought process and that conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So again, that's my study of psychology without any formal qualifications, but I'm quite in tune with people. You know what I mean? So, you know, to me, you know, psychology is it's just about understanding why people think the way they do, why they do what they do, etc. And you know, my sister's a criminal psychologist, and she's got to delve places I don't want to go. I get the upside, yeah, is I can delve in the places I want to go. You know, why somebody can create that type of content or that type of legacy or that type of momentum or that type of, you know, aura or that type of, you know, whatever. I want to know that type of that sort of thing, but I'm not interested in the other side. But you know, to me, it's about, you know, the brain is an amazing tool. It's probably, you know, the one of the areas in life we know least about still. That